Move to our first discussion of today. Now, today is International Civil Aviation Day, and the theme for this year until 2023 is Advancing Innovation for Global Aviation Development. All over the world, the aviation industry has suffered losses in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the lockdowns in various countries, airlines had to suspend operations, resulting in job losses. The travel traffic also witnessed significant drop as passengers suspended trips. The aviation sector, with all of these challenges, how has the industry fared in Nigeria? At this point, we will discuss this. We have an aviation expert in the studio, Ojuri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. First question. How did the aviation sector fare during the COVID-19 pandemic till now?
We're not out of it yet. We're estimating a loss of about 118 billion for 2020. And there's still forecast of further loss of $38 billion in 2021.
That's according to the IATA?
Yes, according to IATA. And with that, there's no forecast till end of cash liquidity is not supposed to return until last quarter of 2021, according to IATA as well. But what we've seen is, yes, it's a global phenomenon. It's actually been devastating to aviation, as it were. But what we've been able to, how we've been able to sustain this globally is we've seen governments have identified aviation as an enabler, an economic catalyst, and they've given about some circle of about $173 billion to aviation, to airlines. In Nigeria, let's bring that home. We've actually just had a paltry 4 billion.
5 billion, actually. 4
billion to the airlines and 1 billion to ancillary services. Okay. So 5 billion all in all. So that's a drop in the ocean. But what rather than say we don't want it, we'll rather first want it implemented and disbursed so that we can actually have some traction.
You say it's a drop in the ocean, meaning it's not enough?
It's never enough. 5 billion in aviation is it's a patchy sum because 80% of that operational cost is dollarized. And the dollar rates of from your fuel, which is liberalized, your Jet A1 fuel, your aircraft spare parts, the taxes, everything is high, it's dollarized. And with the cost of the dollar now, it actually affects you being able to sustain airline operations. So 4 billion would not be able to take care of the airline operations. But what it's, I believe what's earmarked for now would be the PSP, which is the payroll support palliative for the airlines, so that they're able to uphold the staff that have not been able to be paid or have been paid just the basic allowance within the last 6 months.
So some airlines also had to sack a larger percentage of its workforce due to the whole pandemic and everything that has happened. But in all of this, are we expecting that the aviation industry will bounce back quite soon?
It will bounce back quite soon, not as soon as we think, but let's start with Nigeria. We're already in a recession, technically in a recession. With that, aviation is a function of disposable income. And with the fact that if government is the biggest spender in this climate, people, no conferences, no trainings, so people don't get to travel. When the recession is over, second, third quarter, that's when people start traveling. The high demography of people, the passengers that come to Nigeria, 90%, 80 to 90% are driven by business passengers. Yeah. They're not traveling. Most of the companies have not activated their travel plans. So that's affecting aviation, as it were. But what we see happening is we'll see some domestic growth and regional growth, which will start because people have to travel for either visiting families and friends or for personal issues, health issues, and to address other things, business activities. That would start, and then we'll see some traction. But in between this, we still see cargo traffic has moved with 19% over last year, over 2019 numbers, compared to since COVID started.
Okay, so in all of this, now apart from the 5 billion, billion naira that the government has the intervention fund, what can be done by not just government but every sector in the aviation industry? Because the sector has to bounce back,
yes,
and quick too. So what can be done to ensure that it bounces back quickly?
What can be done is, there's just apart from government, there's the other financial channels as platforms that have been offered. There's a 500 billion naira funding assistance from central bank for single-digit interest rate rates, which the airlines are able to activate based on met criteria. Yeah. There's the African Development Bank support, and there's also the rejigging of the process now from the policy perspective, whereby equity and ownership is being opened up, because this offers an opportunity for reset. With that opportunity for reset, airlines are able to change their models, whereby the cost of operations is lowered, the corporate governance is increased, as well as even the equipment that is being used now is changed from the normal 737s, which are 4 guzzlers, and are not optimal in just 1-hour flights, to the Embraer 145s and 195s.
Okay, so looking at the intervention fund now, years ago, 200 billion naira was released by previous government for the aviation industry. Till now, no one knows how the money went. Even when the CBN decided to investigate, yes, airlines were saying they didn't get the money. Do you think the government would have looked into all of these and realized that, and maybe they're reluctant to release more?
I'm of the school of thought there's always the lesson learned.
Yes.
And the lesson learned is what you've just mentioned. Yes, what were the pit holes and the flaws in that process? With that flaws, taking note of, cognizance of those flaws, we're able to move forward and say, now there actually some roadmap on which airlines are going to get benefit of that, where the audited financial plan for the last 3 years, where the staff human resource information, all these things are the members of airline operators of Nigeria. All those requirements are being followed and adhered to, it's not a perfect system, but we believe it's going to help that process in ensuring that the airlines' viability is met.
How will it help the process?
It will help the process because once the requirements are are set, the airlines have the obligation to, as AOC, airline operators of Nigeria members, to ensure that only viable airlines, only airlines that have good corporate governance, only airlines that have standing well are eligible for that payment. And the other part of it, which is key, is that ensure that money doesn't go down the drain, is to ensure that when they're disbursed, they're used for the reason for which it was disbursed, and that it's we can see some positive impacts.
There seems always to be the issue of implementation in this country. People complain about that laws are made, yes, but they're not implemented. Yes. And are you optimistic that this will be implemented to the latter?
I'm optimistic because there's no other way to go. We either swim or sink. If we choose not to disburse it, well, if the airlines go under, we would have no airlines, or what would actually happen? We have new airlines come up. It's just nature above the vacuum. We're going to actually have, if the airlines do not take proper cognizance of this fact and use these funds that be dispersed appropriately, they would go under. New airlines will come up, and we would actually...
Are you sure that new airlines will come up with the situation in Nigeria? The environment is, a lot of people say, it's not good for business.
It's not good for business, but there are lots of investors that understand the risk as well, and are able to actually calculate the risk and evaluate doing business here as well. Because we cannot say it's not good for business and not do business here.
How do you calculate such risk when the policy, there seem to be policy somersault in this country?
There's policy somersault, but let's be cognizant. I'm not overly optimistic, but I'm a realist and pragmatic person and a consultant as well. When I see the NCA, which is the regulator, at this point, there's been lots of policies that have been ensured that is being well adapted to the contemporary issues that we're facing. Prior to this time, we had security issues. Now we have public health issues. Public health issues comes with lots of even investment that needs to be done. With that, they actually ensuring that economic viability of the airlines prior to when the off the rail is being ensured. And these are the things that they're nipping the issues on the board. And they're able to actually ensure that the airlines are in good standing at each time. Policies make go a long way. Apart from the policies, there are partnerships. I did mention African Development Bank. NCA is partnering, doing that partnership, and they're able to guarantee that payment. With good governance and structure environment within the airline structure, that really helps them for the airline to be formidable in terms of financial or technical challenges.
Like you said, with good governance.
Yes.
Is that an optimism? It's
not an optimism, it's the reality. Good governance is what makes a company like you stand despite the challenges. Good governance is not, we don't have an El Dorado. What we have is dynamic aviation sector, which grows with time. With the growth, we learn with the lesson learned, and we actually adapt best international practice. Nigeria's aviation is not independent. We're a global environment. So we can't choose to be Nigerian in our operations or in our management of aviation. For us to go and get those airplanes which are not provided for and which are not actually produced here, you have to go abroad. So if you choose to do your operations or operate with a Nigerian sense of management, which you're claiming it is, when you go for your repairs, you have to adapt. And adapt to what's done, global international practice, which forces the airline to ensure that they go with the best international practice.
So 5 billion naira has been earmarked as intervention fund for the aviation sector, but experts like you are saying it's not enough.
It's not enough.
What will be enough?
There's never enough. Nobody has the big wallet or the big checkbook. And you have to be realistic as well. Government is grappling with security, infrastructure, roads, healthcare.
Everything, the whole gamut. But in your own view, if the government is to release, maybe to add to this 5 billion, what should be?
The 500 billion would make it, it will move the needle.
As a start.
Well, as a start, but obviously it will move the needle. I did mention policies and being dynamic. You have about 7, 8 airlines that are operating, domestic airlines that are operating now. The model, rejigging of the model will make a difference. There will be some mergers and acquisitions. That would help form a stronger operation. The stronger the strength in numbers, by them being able to, even 2 of them are under a receivership. With that, they're able to be stronger together. And those cost of economies of scale has been tapped into. So those are the things we see. And that will be able to move the aviation sector, because Nigeria is a big entity, geographical location. We talk 200 million people. We're not even tip of the iceberg. With the number of people flying, we just have about 7 to 8 million passengers per annum. So if you look at 200 million passengers, and we have about 10% of that flying through competitive prices, and road is not, we'll be able to take advantage of air movement. And with that, road, rail, and waterways is no comparison to air travel.
But 500 billion, isn't that a tall order?
It is a tall order, but already there's that opportunity with Central Bank. There's another opportunity coming with African Development Bank. And once you provide the infrastructure, already part of the roadmap is having the concession plan. Part of the roadmap is having the infrastructure. When you're able to move goods and services across Nigeria, you're able to move, and there's security, you're able to travel far away. Tourism is optimized. You'll find out that this 500 billion is actually an investment in the right direction, and you're able to actually make that profit. The return on investment is optimized.
Well, at this point in our nation's history, will a concession plan work?
Well, it will work. Government doesn't have it would work. However, the caveat there is that's where I share your pessimism. Is the fact that it's.
I'm not being pessimistic though.
It's the fact that we have to ensure a thorough transparent communication, whereby there's what you call collaborative decision making with all the stakeholders. Okay. It's not just government making all these ideas about concessioning plan, having the transaction advisors, and then bring out the plan up. How is it going to affect the airport authority, all the stakeholders, the staff, the unions? These are the things that would ensure that there's a transparent communication process. Because even if it's done, how would they recover the money? Have we looked at other options? What model? Why this model? What model will work for us well? So those are the peculiarities we need to identify to ensure that aviation is well taken. Is actually, we feel the impact of aviation in Nigeria as and use the choice of Nigeria as a hub that we've always wanted to be in aviation, African aviation.
Well, Ojuri, thank you so much for talking to us. He's an aviation consultant and managing partner at Aglow Aviation Support Services. Thank you so much for talking to us.
It's always a pleasure. Keep flying.